Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from the George M. Ewing Canandaigua Forum, welcoming former health insurance executive and healthcare reform advocate Wendell Potter for a conversation about morality and the cost of care, April 19th at Fort Hill Performing Arts Center. More at gmeforum.org.
From WXXI News, this is Connections. I'm Evan Dawson. Our connection this hour will be made next Sunday with a celebration of music, Rochester music and musicians. The Rochester Music Hall of Fame is welcoming the 2026 class of inductees, and we're going to have a preview of that event coming up later this hour. Before that, how a federal grant will help local dentists become better trained on how to treat patients who have intellectual and developmental disabilities and certain medical conditions. We'll talk about the impact that is expected to have. And to kick off this weekly news roundup, Governor Kathy Hochul and state lawmakers are trying to address what some are calling a crisis situation. The number of volunteer firefighters in New York State has dropped by at least a third in the last generation or so. And there's now proposed legislation in the Assembly that aims to help with recruitment by allowing districts to pay small stipends to possible volunteers. That's all according to reporting from our colleague, Capitol News Bureau reporter Samuel King with the New York Public News Network. And Samuel is back with us. Nice to have you, sir. Thanks for being with us again.
Hi, Evan. Glad to be with you.
So just this morning, Governor Hochul had an event about her insurance plan with volunteer firefighters. So this appears to be on everyone's radar moving along. What do you see there? Give me the landscape.
Well, the governor was talking about sort of touting her auto insurance plan, and with a group of firefighter organizations from across the country, including a fire department here in suburban Albany. They talked about what we've heard a lot is affordability and rising costs, and her push, and seemingly the firefighter groups are agreeing that if we reduce insurance costs, that would not only help the fire departments, but it would also help the volunteer firefighters who, again, aren't getting paid necessarily. So reducing costs for them, a lot of them have to respond, of course, to the station or to a scene with their personal vehicles. The rising insurance costs also impacts them. So that was one thing that was discussed this morning.
And in the general backdrop of this, Samuel, it dovetails with some conversations we've had on this program in the last couple of years with volunteers from small town fire departments, small town emergency response, the challenge they've had in recruiting new volunteers, new members, and what it might take for them to not only get more people to come in and do it, but also to maintain their departments at all. So I wasn't surprised to see this story, but how would you describe maybe some of the urgency on this issue?
Yeah, I guess there is some debate on sort of how deep the issue goes. We can get to that a little bit later. But a number of departments, one department I spoke with specifically is the Clinton Heights department that's across the river from the Capitol over in Rensselaer County near Troy. They say he has about 35, 36, the chief tells me, on his staff. But then when you talk about active firefighters, that drops to about 25 or 26. And he says some days he feels he has enough, some days he doesn't. But he says other fire departments in the area and across the state probably are in a worse situation where they feel it is very difficult to have the number of volunteers needed to respond to fire or an emergency in a timely manner, and they have to get help from neighboring departments, and that seems to happen a lot.
Yeah, Samuel had a chance to talk to Chris Racine, who is the chief of the Clinton Heights Fire Department, about some of this stuff. Let's listen.
It's tough in today's society because mom and dad are working 2-3 jobs apiece, trying to maintain bills and try to maintain a place to live for their family. So it's tough to turn around and say, hey, join the volunteer fire department and give them 2 nights a week of your time. And when you're in training, it might be 2 or 3 nights a week or on a Saturday.
So that's the chief of the Clinton Heights Fire Department. Let's listen to the fire chief in Cortland County, the first vice president of AFD-SNY. And this is Dave Deniston, who is talking about, so what impact could this have on response time if someone needs to call 911 an emergency? Let's listen.
Many of the fire departments are resulting to multiple activations just to assemble a crew, if they can assemble one at all. This is concerning to us and is not specific to any one geographic location here in the States. Response times are increasing all across the state. Volunteer agencies, through no fault of their own, have closed their doors because they could no longer sustain operations.
Now, in a moment, I'm going to ask Samuel to describe why not everyone is on board with this. But briefly, Samuel, you're used to covering politics where an interest group will paint a picture because they want more funding or they want something to happen in the legislature. The sense that I get from the bites that we just heard with these fire chiefs and in talking to volunteers and talking to small town departments, as we've talked to, the sense that I get, Samuel, is that they genuinely feel like they're up against it. Like this is not a made-up problem, that they're not just trying to, sort of leverage or lobby for funding or money for no reason at all. Like I think they are true believers and that they feel like the evidence bears it out. What do you think?
Yeah, Evan, that is something that we've heard here at the Capitol, but as Chris Racine pointed out to me, this is also a nationwide problem. So this isn't something that is necessarily unique to New York. It's happened everywhere. I've worked in other states and have often heard about the fire service, especially volunteer services, but even some of the professional firefighters to be honest, sometimes having trouble recruiting. We have sort of one of the things that was mentioned at the governor's event this morning. She talked about, you have sort of those generational firefighters, like their father was a firefighter, their grandfather was in the service. Unless you have that, sometimes it can be hard to attract, younger people or people with families as costs rise, as Chris Racine was mentioning. So it's definitely an issue, but, some disagree on sort of how much of an issue. Like some take issue with the word crisis, but I think everyone agrees that there does need to be, some way to help bring people into the service.
So this is interesting to me. The part of your reporting on where there's a little bit of a split. So what can be done about the lack of volunteers or the need for more volunteers? Again, the governor is saying maybe the stipend will help, but not everybody is on board, including some groups representing professional firefighters, Samuel.
That's right. They say that, their push is that when you talk about that is that there need to be these hybrid departments. We can hear from that in a moment. But one thing that was interesting to me as well was sort of the another group, and I want to make sure I get their name correctly, the Firefighters Association of the state of New York. They really pushed back on this notion of a crisis when the chiefs and fire districts were up here at the Capitol last week. They used the word crisis. The rank and file volunteer firefighters say, yeah, there's an issue, but people shouldn't worry that firefighters won't be there to respond. They feel that there is the stipend proposal is one tool in the toolbox. Again, we're talking about sort of a small amount of money here, but they also, as I mentioned, feel that there are other things that we can do in terms of helping with tuition, boosting some benefits and things like that. They have a very long list of ideas to sort of help this situation. But you mentioned professional firefighters. Again, they feel that departments should transition more to a hybrid model, and they feel that would have the most success.
Well, let's listen to what Sam Frisina told Samuel. Sam Frisina is the president of the New York State Professional Firefighters Association.
And we have seen the only, proven the best model for success statewide and nationally has been, creating departments in rural areas where it's really needed that include both paid and volunteers. This way you're providing a guaranteed response.
So that's where, Samuel, those who are not, probably those who are on the political right, conservatives, people who are not big fans of unions would say, well, of course, Sam Frisina wants more paid positions. He wants more union dues. He wants more members. He's going to oppose the stipend. And I wonder politically how this is playing in the legislature. What are you hearing there?
Well, there is sort of interest, like people definitely, especially the legislators who have a lot of volunteer firefighters in their district, they definitely hear from their local, whether it's the towns or villages or counties, about sort of this issue. But what to do about it in terms of whether the stipend idea is a good idea is something else. Some of this might be a delay because of the fact that there isn't a budget yet, but there is one bill currently right now that really focuses on this stipend issue. Would allow districts. Of course, this wouldn't be a mandatory for districts, but it would give districts the opportunity to do so. That is from the local government's chair in the assembly. That is Assembly member Michael Solages. She is in from Long Island, and she's the chair, and she's very interested in this issue. Another bill would sort of create an on-call positions. Basically, be allowed to pay people $50 per call, or up to $50 per call, up to 5,000 a year. So maybe not going quite as far as giving stipends directly to volunteer firefighters, but allowing for sort of on-call firefighters to sort of help with that. But both of those bills really are still in the committee. So really not seeing much movement yet. We'll see if there is movement, especially once we get past budget and some other legislation can move through here. So, but that's the interesting thing. It's a thing that all of these groups have been talking about for a while, but there's only been sort of incremental movement over the years. Evan, I'll mention one thing is the training that Chris Racine mentioned a few years ago. The governor and the legislature agreed on a bill that would give some stipends for people who undergo training, state mandated training. So that is one thing that's moved, but the stipend idea at the moment, it seems to be stalled.
All right, so we'll see if it ends up in the budget. And so I have to close by asking this just briefly.
Mm-hmm.
When are we getting a budget? And you knew I had to ask you.
I was prepared for this question. I was asking the people here because the majority leader, she has her phrases, and Andrea Stewart Cousins, who's the Democratic majority leader, she says we're in the middle of the middle. So optimistically, that could mean maybe by the end of the month, maybe another few weeks after that. What the speaker said yesterday, they still haven't gotten to the money yet. They're still on these issues like auto insurance and immigration. So we'll see how long that takes.
The budget was due April 1st. It typically is late. It is late again, but they've got a lot to work through. And Samuel is going to be covering it as always. Samuel King, Capitol News Bureau reporter for the New York Public News Network. Always good. Thanks for the work. And we'll talk to you soon, budget or not.
All right. Thanks, Evan. Appreciate it.
Samuel King. All right. Brief break. More connections coming up in just a second.
Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from the Golisano Foundation, supporting Move to Include programming on WXXI and working with the community to lead change toward the inclusion of people with intellectual and physical disabilities. Share your thoughts at movetoinclude.org.
In today's media environment, you have a lot of power. You can make a direct impact on your community by powering this public radio station with your monthly sustaining membership. Right now, what matters the most is your participation. Please start or increase your monthly donation.
Members' support powers the programs you love on WXXI. When you become a member, you will unlock the PBS Passport benefit. Thousands of shows, on demand, anytime. Join us today at WXXI.org/give.
This is Connections. I'm Evan Dawson. Dentists at the Eastman Institute for Oral Health will be receiving specialized training thanks to a federal grant, and the training is expected to help create more inclusive access to quality care. WXXI's health, equity, and community reporter and producer Racquel Stephen is here talking about this story. Hey, welcome back. Nice to see you on this Friday.
It's been a while.
It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
So the $2.16 million federal grant to help train residents on how to better treat individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and certain medical conditions like HIV and diabetes. The people involved with this say, I mean, this is a pretty big deal, isn't it?
No, this is a huge deal, and I have to say it really touches close to home for me. Raising a son that's nonverbal, and bringing him to the dentist a few times, and having it be one of the most horrible experiences. Just trying to like get behavioral issues, and just trying to get him to calm down and actually sit and really receive that treatment. It can be a struggle. So when I seen the article, I'm like, oh yeah, this is something that I feel our listeners would appreciate.
In the past, as a parent, do you seek out any kind of specialized care in that way? Do you call around? Do you try to figure out, who's been where and what they're able to do?
Well, with my son, like his dad is more of the, the authoritative figure. So he kind of listens to his dad more than I do. So with anything as far as sitting in a chair, barber shop, a dentist, I rather his dad handle that. But it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
different. It's different for everyone. Like this, it's a spectrum. So everyone's experience is different. But with kids on the spectrum, often routine is what gets them be able to manage appointments like that. So just getting them on that routine.
You're not an authoritarian.
I can be.
I mean, come on.
I can be.
Before we welcome our guests here, you talked to Dr. Sangeeta Gajendra, who is chair of the Department of Community Dentistry at the Institute, who says these populations tend to lack access to oral care, primarily due to the shortage of providers who have the skill set to treat them. She said only about 5% of clinical dentistry training focuses on these most vulnerable populations. And she said the Excel program, as the initiative is called, is going to expose younger dentists to this experience. I want to listen to this cut from Dr. Gajendra.
If you look at the amount of dental disease that this population has, it's way more than the general population. And of course, it's because they are not able to access routine dental care. Once you start treating a population with huge needs, you understand what the population needs, then you start liking it and you want to then continue being over there.
I mean, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And you can see how much impact it can have. Anything surprise you in this story? I mean, are you surprised that this initiative has taken place? I'm
not surprised, but I'm hopeful. It makes you hopeful. It makes you going through this it's a relief that is actually happening, and it's at the forefront of the Dental Institute. So because it is a concern, and it is something that should be recognized and a solution.
So I want to welcome in studio a couple of guests and one guest on the phone. So welcome in studio to Diane Kelly, who is a parent, and welcome to Ryan Kelly as well. First of all, hi, Ryan. Great to have you. And hi, Diane. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having us.
And I want to welcome on the line Carissa Mole, who is a parent and director of customized support at Heritage Christian Services. Carissa, welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So briefly here, I'm going to ask Diane in studio as a parent to tell a little bit of your own story here. You've been hearing what Racquel has not only reported, but shared from her perspective as a parent. What do you think we should know from the parent perspective here, Diane?
Well, first of all, this is one of the happiest things I've heard in a long time in terms of our perspective with the dental program. Ryan has been challenged with many sensory issues which have prevented him from receiving optimal dental care that would have prevented a lot of the situations, his dental history. And right now, Ryan's history is that he's received many, many different dentists. We've gone to many different ones. He's needed enough care that he has not been able to receive due to the shortage of dentists, and that being a situation such as his siblings, when they can have a cavity that needs to be filled, they're typically in the dental office maybe 2 weeks later. Ryan's been told, and to our face, we'll put him on a list, and he may not receive that dental care for years.
Because they don't have the training? Because why?
It's the dental work, and also because of individuals with special needs, they need special environments such as anesthesia to allow the appropriate dental work to be done. Yeah. There's not enough dentists that will be able to provide that for the dental care that he needs. Due to this situation, he has had teeth that have not been fixed or not been filled so that he has lost all his bottom teeth. They've all been taken out. We're now working heavily with the prosthodontics department at Eastman Dental, who have actually been phenomenal. I can't say enough about what they have done for his life. He now has 5 implants in his bottom jaw, and he has a whole set of new bottom teeth. And we meet with them only once a year now to provide care for them. But it's been a 5-year process just to provide all that. But Ryan's been wonderful. He's taking care of his teeth now. It's a wonderful situation, but it's been a journey of a lifetime to get here.
It's an equity issue, isn't it?
Definitely.
I mean, you talk about siblings and how different it can be in one family with how kids are treated.
Exactly.
How are you doing, Ryan? Yeah. How do your teeth feel?
Better.
Yeah, better. Yeah. Do you are you good at taking care of your teeth now?
Yes.
Okay, let's see if Mom wants to verify that.
Oh, he uses special things. You want to tell him what you use? What? A water pick toothbrush.
Yes.
And another special toothbrush. It has bristles on 3 sides of the toothbrush.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, a hopeful day for you. I hope probably a lot of families who are going to be in this position.
Definitely.
You believe that?
Because the waiting list, Strong is a hub of professionals of expertise. And for people to utilize their services, they actually come from throughout the state. So there's a long, long list of those who want help with Strong at Eastman Dental.
Before I bring in Carissa, let me just ask Ryan, do you like going to the dentist? I don't know too many people who like it. Do you like going to the dentist?
Yes.
It's okay with you? Yeah?
Yes.
I mean, look, it gives a lot of us anxiety. I know how you feel.
Oh,
Racquel.
yeah. I love it now, but my first time, I remember my first time like it was yesterday.
Yeah, and so for most of us, it's not the most enjoyable experience, and dentists and their staff do great jobs.
Yeah.
But you can understand what it must be like for families like Diane's, where you go, the kids aren't even getting equal treatment here, and there has to be something that can help. Well, Carissa Mole, a parent and director of customized support at Heritage Christian Services. You want to tell me a little bit about your own experience and what you see as the big story here?
Yes, I will say, I'll echo Diane, that I was so thrilled when I saw this funding come through, just personally within our own family. My youngest son is 13, and he is diagnosed with a very rare chromosome difference that unfortunately leads to some very poor dental outcomes. We have always had wonderful pediatric dentists, but anytime he needs specialized care, pretty much the only option is the Eastman Dental Center. A lot of clinics won't even, regardless of what the child needs, as soon as they see a diagnosis, it just seems the door kind of closes and you are kind of shuttled towards Eastman Dental, which provides wonderful care but has extensive wait lists. When my son, when his teeth first came through, his molars came through without enamel or very poor enamel. And that, of course, then caused the molars to deteriorate very quickly. Our dentist tried to do what he could to preserve the teeth, but ultimately he referred us to Eastman Dental because we knew he would need sedation and surgery to address the oral issues he was having. And when we were put on the list, we were told we were looking at about an 18-month wait list for him to be seen, even though his teeth were just actively decaying, it felt like on a daily basis. Really within months of that, the teeth had deteriorated. They were falling apart. They were causing pain. He was sobbing, uncontrollable, just in so much pain. And when they're that young, there's not a lot of pain medicine that you can give them. We went back and forth to the dentist. We ended up in the ER because he just was truly inconsolable with his with the pain that he was in. The ER said, there's nothing we can do. Go to Eastman tomorrow morning and just see if there's any, if they can move him up at all. So my husband packed him up the next morning, little 2-year-old Sammy, and brought him over to the waiting room at Eastman. He was just, again, crying, screaming in pain, and I think they realized how severe it had gotten, and he was bumped up, and he was able to have the surgery the following morning. They put in multiple crowns. They had to remove some of his teeth. And as devastating as all of that was, he has a lot of future dental needs. He has an underbite that is going to need to be corrected by surgery once he's post-puberty. He has braces right now. There's just not enough room in his mouth for all of his teeth. He has teeth that are sideways. He has teeth that are missing. I remember the first x-ray at the orthodontist crying because there's just so much going on there. And it just seems like nobody really knows exactly what to do or how to help him. So I'm just thrilled for this funding, for this training for new dentists coming in, because it is such a need, even just from what I'm experiencing in our family.
Chris, I'm looking at data from URMC here. They say more than 30,000 people, including 1,000 patients with intellectual and developmental disabilities from 51 New York counties, are now on the waiting list for care at Eastman Institute for Oral Health. That's a huge waiting list. And have you thought about, did you try not to think about what happens on the morning that, your husband is, taking your child, hoping that they can bump him up because of sort of the crisis moment that you're going through? If they couldn't do that, where would you have gone?
It is such a horrible feeling to feel that helpless when you see your toddler in that much pain, and just be at the mercy of whatever availability we can get in. I have heard of parents who travel across the state to find dentists that are able to get them in a little bit sooner. We would have done that had they not been able to. I carry private dental insurance on top of his Medicaid. He has Medicaid to the HCBS waiver, but we carry private insurance because we want access to the dentists that hopefully don't have as long of a wait list. But even then, there's an issue of the expertise and knowing how to work with a child with his needs.
So let me just, Jennifer emailed to ask, what about sedation dentistry? Is that a solution to some of this? I don't know if, first of all, Diane, you're nodding. Is sedation dentistry part of the process here?
Yes, and it actually has only been through my own exploration that I found it. No professional guided me in this direction. So it's extremely important. Ryan now is able to be seen, has had a lot of his oral work attended to with a dentist that provides oral sedation. We do the IV one, and he has had his work done, but honestly, we've had to pay privately for it because it's not a situation that is open or talked about in the public. And he does the conscious sedation, not the anesthesia.
Okay. Carissa, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, what we've experienced is that a lot of dentists won't, at least in the pediatrics, for a child with a disability, they want you to go to Eastman. I will say for some simple tooth extractions, because my son's teeth like to just hang in there forever, we've had success with our actual pediatric dentist using like laughing gas to help calm him, and that has been successful. But anything more than that, we're always referred to Eastman, at least in the pediatric world.
So, Carissa, before I let you go, what do you want to leave with listeners as we understand the impact of the story and frankly, what is maybe a start to solving problems, but it's going to take a lot of work to get where we need to go?
I am hopeful that we will see greater access, shorter wait lists, more knowledgeable dentists with expertise in working with people with disabilities. Even like Racquel said to start, it would sometimes just helping somebody to sit in that seat that's the hard part sometimes. And having dentists that are receiving the training on how to really work successfully with people with disabilities would make a world of a difference for people with disabilities.
Do you know the timeline for this, Racquel?
No, I don't believe. I think they already got the funding.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully ASAP.
And they already started training.
Yeah.
They already started training.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because sometimes funding comes through, or sometimes funding gets authorized and the money doesn't come, and then all of a sudden you're waiting a long time. This is a pretty acute need here. Diane, some final thoughts from you. Again, you said this was a pretty hopeful announcement. Yeah. For families
exactly.
like yours.
It's been a journey for us since Ryan's been younger, and he's 38 now. So it's gone, and it's also, and he's grown. It's the situation's grown. There's good dentists, and it's been a challenging thing. But what I'd like to leave is, I would like them to include families in their training. I'd like them to include parents in their training. The parents, we are the voice for our children. We are the voice for the special needs public population, and they don't have it right now. The dentistry doesn't have it. And what I'd like to what else I would like to say is, maybe that's it. Just keep parents involved and let parents have a story too, because that's how they're going to learn. And those that can talk, there's a lot of special needs individuals who don't have the stories we do, who are able to go through the public. But a lot of us have had such difficulty that it's such a breath of fresh air knowing that they're addressing this.
Well, Racquel, years ago, I remember a conversation where I learned the phrase, nothing about us without us. Now, that's true for journalists who are covering stories about families who have children with disabilities. It could be true for lawmakers who are setting policy and maybe setting policy without any of these families in the room. But nothing about us without us is really important. And you're doing great work bringing us these stories and letting the families speak as well. So I want to thank you for popping in here as always.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Racquel Stephen, one of the best here. Thanks to Carissa Mole. Good luck to you and your family, Carissa. Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much.
Diane, and thank you very much, by the way, for that impassioned plea. We all should be listening to your families more often. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Ryan Kelly, good to meet you. Thank you for being here. Have a great day. Yeah, have a great day. Thank you very much. And we've got more connections to wrap the week here next.
Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from Mary Cariola Center, proud supporter of Connections with Evan Dawson, believing an informed and engaged community is a connected one. marycariola.org.
In the new movie Mother Mary, Anne Hathaway plays a pop star going through a crisis, and Michaela Cole plays the designer who crafted her image.
For me, it's kind of like they're magnetic fields at the same time. They're attracted to each other and then they're repulsed by each other in equal measure.
I'm Elsa Chang. We talk to the stars of the film about their complicated on-screen relationship on All Things Considered from NPR News.
This afternoon at 4.
As public radio stations across the country navigate an uncertain funding future, it's time for you to become a sustaining member or increase your monthly contribution to your public radio station. Your support ensures the future of independent media in this community and beyond.
From captivating dramas and local documentaries, PBS Passport has something for everyone. Become a member of WXXI to gain access to hundreds of programs. Join now at WXXI.org/give.
One of the great traditions this time of year is seeing who made the Rochester Music Hall of Fame. And the class of 2026 is out now. They've got an event coming up Sunday, April 26th, 7 p.m. at Kodak Hall at Eastman Theater. Tickets available at rochestermusic.org. And the president of the Rochester Music Hall of Fame, Jack Whittier, is back with us. Great way to close the week. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks, Evan. It's good to see you again.
So, all these years, and you keep putting lists together with not only big local names, but you get national names like Taye Diggs, who we'll talk about.
Yep.
Apparently, you haven't mined all the territory yet here. The Hall of Fame keeps growing.
We got a long list, and it seems like every year there's somebody else that somebody suggests that we hadn't thought about, and like, hey, that might work in the future. So we got a long list to go. This is our 13th year, though, that we're doing it.
13th year. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
13 years of doing it. You got the big celebration coming up, rochestermusic.org if you want to get more information. What are you looking forward to most on the night of Sunday, April 26th?
Just a lot of really good music. So it's really interesting. Every class has kind of their own theme and flavor to it. And interesting, we're on connections. I mean, when you really start looking at this year's class, there's connections all over the place. So we've got the LaBarbera brothers that are being inducted. They performed at the Pythod Room. They've got connections to the Mangione brothers and all that. We've got Taye Diggs going in, Donna Lynn Champlin. Both are big Broadway stars, and that's really a big thing for them. And then we have a new award that we started about 3 years ago called the Ned Corman Award, which it goes to music educators. Judith Randoletta is getting the award this year. She was Donna Lynn Champlin's teacher at Greece Athena. So everybody's 1 degree of separation here, I think, Evan.
So I'm gonna challenge you to go down the list and tell us a little bit about some of the inductees, a little bit about why they made the cut here.
Sure.
You mentioned Taye Diggs. Now, I know him as an actor.
Right.
He's a singer.
He's a singer.
So tell me about Taye Diggs.
He multiple Broadway starring roles. He was in Rent. Probably his biggest one was being in Rent on Broadway.
And so Taye Diggs is a nationally, internationally known
Yes.
figure. Rochester roots. That's a great one.
School of the Arts.
School of the
He
Arts.
went to School of the Arts.
We got to get Taye Diggs on the show sometime. He's hard to pin down.
Yes.
Is he coming for the event?
Yep.
He'll be here on Sunday, April 26th.
That's the plan, yep.
You mentioned the LaBarbera brothers.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit more about. So I love this because you not only have the LaBarbera brothers, but Rochester's legendary jazz club, the Pythod Room, is also on the list here.
Yes.
And the Pythod Room is a story that I didn't know until a few years ago, when local historians, groups that are kind of doing this very important history,
Right.
are educating people like me who didn't grow up here
Mhm.
and didn't have a chance to experience it. And you go, well, how do more people not know about the Pythod Club?
Right.
So tell me more about the Pythod Room. So tell me
the
about that.
Pythod Room, just a legendary jazz club. It, pretty much every jazzer that came through here in 50s, 60s went there. The Mangionis obviously had connections to there, but there's some other big stars that have, they would perform at bigger venues, and then they'd go to the Pythod Room. Stevie Wonder went there, George Benson. The list goes on and on. So it was a must stop for out of town musicians that were performing in front of big crowds, but they wanted to go to the Pythod Room.
Do you feel like this is a community that doesn't fully appreciate what a legendary place we had with that?
I think it's becoming better known. I'm a transplant too. I've lived here over 30 years now. I'm from Buffalo, so not far away. But one of the nice things for me personally through the Music Hall of Fame is really learning some of the history, and you get the LaBarberas, which I'm anxious to meet when they come into town next week. But the associations with everybody, Gap Mangione, we get together every once in a while. He fills me in on a lot of history around here, especially on the jazz scene.
And I think we've got a little music that we can play. Do we have a little music that we can play from his brother John, the Pythod Fellows?
Yeah.
So let's listen a little bit. So when I hear, that introduction, I feel like I'm listening to some of the great albums from the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know when that one was laid down, but I'd put a guess on it in the late 60s, 70s.
That would be my guess too.
Classic stuff there.
Yep. And Joe LaBarbera was drummer for Bill Evans. Bill Evans, probably my favorite jazz pianist of all time. He's just terrific. So again, the connections with everybody is just great.
I mean, the list there of the LaBarberas and the Pythod include Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Ella Fitzgerald, Buddy Rich, Bill Evans, Dizzy Gillespie. I mean, we're almost like the Kevin Bacon of music.
Oh,
with
for
this
sure.
stuff. Like we're
No doubt
connected to
about it.
everybody in some way, aren't we?
Yes, we are. It's amazing. It really is amazing. And when we do the reach out to get performers in here, we try to do as many local people, and we're going to have just great local musicians performing for the Pythod and with the LaBarberas this weekend. But it's not an easy ask, but it's they take our calls. Let's put it that
There
way.
you go. Good enough. You're honoring the living indigenous tradition of the music of the Seneca Nation as well.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So really worked through Ganondagan and more globally the Seneca Nation. It's the original music here, and as we researched it a little bit more, it's like this is really important to the foundation of music in general, but particularly in Rochester. So we really felt it was important to honor and induct them too, and again, a real basis for a lot of music that happens.
And will we see some performance at the show?
Yes, it'll be very colorful.
A very colorful performance here.
Yes.
Again, we're talking
It's going to
about
be fun.
Sunday, April 26th, 7 p.m. at the Kodak Hall at Eastman Theater. Tickets still available at rochestermusic.org. So Donalyn Champlin, you mentioned. Let's talk a little bit more about that. This is an actress and a Broadway star.
Yep.
And this is not someone I've met, too. So you always bring us an interesting list. So I go, well, we got to get this person on connections here. Tell me
Yes.
about why Donalyn Champlin made the cut this year.
Again, multiple roles on Broadway. Then I believe it was, I think it was like a WB show, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. She was a star in that and was an award winner for that. Again, Greece Athena High School. I mean, it's just amazing. You know, last year we had John Fawcett, who's the keyboard player for Bruno Mars, and he went to Churchill Charlie, or Gates Charlie, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
And just, you know, he's been with Bruno forever. I mean, so you have these people that grew up here and are really doing amazing things, and it's great to honor them.
Is anybody not coming for the show?
Not that I know of
No,
right
they're
now.
all- so
You
Donald
never know
Champlin?
in the last minute, but you know, fingers crossed that everybody's going to show up. You know, the Sky Coasters is the other one. We added a local legends category, and
Yep.
we've done. You know, we added the Douglas Lowry Award about 10 years ago. We honor high school seniors that are going on to major in music. One of our inductees, Jack Alaco, actually is our underwriter for the awards, so they get a cash stipend toward college expenses, and they perform. But we added the local legends this year because there's a lot of performers, bands that have made a really big impact, maybe more so locally, but just their staying power. And Sky Coasters have been around for about 50 years, and we came up with this local legends category, and we thought they would be the perfect one to be the first ones to receive that award. So we're excited about having them. Very enthusiastic fan base from them. So we'll probably have a lot of Sky Coasters followers there on Sunday night.
Everybody who follows the Sky Coasters, they dance a lot in the audience. You're going to have a lot of people moving and grooving, aren't you?
We'll love it. We'll love it. Get up and out of your seats and have a good time.
So let me bring in Pat LaBarbera, who is with us now. He's a jazz saxophonist, an educator, and a member of the Rochester Music Hall of Fame class of 2026. Pat, John, and Joe grew up in Mount Morris, and Pat is representing the LaBarbera brothers. Hello, Pat. Thanks for making time for us.
Thanks, Evan. Thanks for having me.
What does it mean to you to be on the list?
Well, I mean, it's actually threefold for me because, like I mentioned, we were members of the Pythod Club. At that time, you had to become a member, and I'm holding my membership card, which I have from 1961. And also Paul Hoffler, who was the photographer, was a very good friend of mine and took my wedding pictures. And, of course, the three of us that lived in Rochester and performed there with many different people, the Mangione brothers, of course, Joe Romano, Tony Levin when he was living there. And we all lived there at one point and worked there.
The legendary Pythod Room closed in September of 1973. And so we're talking more than 50 years ago. It is a piece of Rochester past. But Jack and I were talking, Pat, about how for those of us who didn't grow up in Rochester, this is something we need to be educated on. And the more I learned about Pythod, I'm going, boy, it's a shame it's not with us anymore. But what an incredible place. Can you describe what that was like?
Well, it was basically a house on the corner, and you came up on the porch, and then there was somebody to greet you, to check you. There was a cover charge. At one point, I think it was like 50 cents. It was very, very minimal. And it was it was almost like a living room of a house. But I'm sure that if there's somebody coming on after me talking about the Pythod and the origin of the name, it was put together because of the Knights of Pythias, and the Oddfellows were looking for a meeting hall, and so they got together and they put the Pyth and the ODD, odd, together to form the name. Now, contrary to somebody mentioning that, I never really performed there except later on when we did a tribute to the Pythod in Rochester with Gap Mangione's big band. But I was always going there to listen to bands, mostly organ trios at that time. A lot of organists, Jimmy McGriff, brother Jack McDuff. I remember seeing Steve Swallow there. There's just so many different jazz musicians.
And so, Pat, for people who make a pilgrimage now, they're going, oh, it's a parking lot. That's what it is now. But the history has been described to us. It was taken down as part of urban renewal, which a lot of communities in this country saw urban renewal efforts. It's kind of kind of a misnomer of a name because it ended up dividing or destroying a lot of neighborhoods. And I wonder if you feel like, you look back and you feel kind of that was a shame what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, it was different. It was different times. There were other places called. There was a place called the Lounge on State Street. There was Clinton Hall where I saw Coltrane play. Those places are all gone. The city has changed. I used to see the Mangione brothers down on a place called the Lounge. It was a club on State Street, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's where it was. Those places all, and even the Midtown Tower. I used to play with Buddy Rich at the top of the Midtown. Wow. That's gone now. That's no longer there. But we're going back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Mostly when I was performing there, 90s with Elvin Jones.
I mean, look, I'm still somebody, Jack, who thinks live music has an intimacy that is you're not going to match anywhere else. And, we've seen a lot of clubs close, to Pat's point, over the years, Jack.
Right.
But what do you want the Music Hall of Fame's future to look like? And what do you want, sort of the texture of live music to look like in this town?
Sure. So, we say all the time, we're an all-volunteer organization. We really have no skin in the game, per se. However, we also feel that we should be Rochester's biggest music cheerleaders and do whatever we can to really help the music and arts community collaborate and celebrate music, not just the past, but the future. So, we're trying to embark on some new projects. We're working with the RBTL, as you know, that they're going through a huge renovation of the auditorium center. We're going to take up some space there, or we're working on a plan for that. We're going to have some display areas there, but we really want to start reaching out to the music community to say, hey, if we work a little bit more together, music business is a tough business. Pat knows that. Everybody that's been in it it's tough, but it's so great, and we are definitely at the forefront for communities our size of being a great music community. So we need to really leverage that asset to make it good for the community and a great asset to our area. So we're trying to find ways to work together, maybe get people out of their comfort zones or silos a little bit to work together and collaboratively so they can all succeed. The proverbial 1 + 1 = 3 or more. And we really want to try to do that.
You're still doing some firsts, as we talked about with Sky Coasters. You're looking at innovative ways to keep honoring and being the cheerleader, as you talk about.
Yep.
But as a music fan, I challenge you. I don't want to see a press release in the future that says we're honoring our first AI Rochester music.
No way.
Listen, man, that's where the world is going.
I know, it's amazing. I've had a couple things, pass my way, and they're like, "This is AI." It's like, oh my gosh, that's too much. But live music is so special. It's so different. It's almost it's like sports too. Like you can watch sports on TV and it's great, and certain sports are probably even easier to watch on TV. But being at a live sporting event is different. Like I've had season tickets for the Bills for 38 years. Watching Josh Allen in person is amazing. It's the same thing in music, though. It's something a little bit different, and you get into a lot of performances, and it's not just what's on the record. It's their interpretation, and they're feeding off the crowd, and that's really important because music is a very personal thing, and we really need to celebrate and get behind musicians and go out and see live music.
Pat, what happens if we lose live music in the future?
Well, that's what I agree with that. I think that's the one thing that AI will never be able to do. I'm saying it now, I hope not, is reproduce a live musical performance. They can do it on a screen. They can show bands on a screen, AI bands, but to do it in person where there's an interaction with the audience, and that's what you need. For me, live music in a club or a concert is the way to hear it.
Absolutely.
Pat, congratulations to you for being one of the inductees in 2026. And I know they're excited to see you. And thanks for repping the LaBarbera brothers. Thanks for coming on the program today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pat
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, a lot to look forward to every year. It's a long list, and I'm going, they didn't do this one yet? They didn't do this one yet? Who have you not done yet that is going to be on next year?
Well,
You want to break any news right now?
Well, we don't have anybody yet, but I mean, Renee Fleming, we had identified as a charter inductee. Her schedule is brutal.
Yeah, it's just a matter of matching a schedule.
Yeah, so it's a matter of when she's available. We reach out to her every year. We've got a long list of jazz folks. We've got if you look at every musical category, we've got a dozen or more. I mean, I've got a 50-page list of possible inductees.
Amazing. And
Yes.
if people want to learn more, not only about past inductees, but if you want people to nominate, how do they find you?
So if you go to our website, rochestermusic.org, there's a place that you can click on to say, nominate somebody. That'll come our way, and we review them. We can't induct all of them right away, but we consider everybody.
And so it's rochestermusic.org is the website. And the event coming up is in a few Sundays, April 26th. What is that?
A week from Sunday.
That's
9
a week
days.
From Sunday. Boy, oh boy.
I
It's
know.
almost May already. April 26th, 7 p.m., Kodak Hall at the Eastman Theater. I know Jack is excited. No AI music there, all real music and real human beings there.
You betcha.
You going to pick up an axe or a guitar and get on stage?
They haven't let me do that yet.
Come
but
on, man. I mean, all the work that you do.
I play in a bunch of groups around town, so that's
That's
good for
enough
now.
for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations on
Thanks.
this, Jack. Thanks for popping in here.
You bet, Evan. Thank you.
Jack Whittier is the president of the Rochester Music Hall of Fame. A little music to take us out on this Friday. It's nice to hear that, isn't it? And it's nice to celebrate local music. Nice to have you, as always, from all of us at Connections. Thanks for finding us on whatever platform you have found us on. Have a great weekend. We're back with you next week on member-supported public media.
This program is a production of WXXI Public Radio. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of this station, its staff, management, or underwriters. The broadcast is meant for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or use in another medium without expressed written consent of WXXI is strictly prohibited. Connections with Evan Dawson is available as a podcast. Just click on the Connections link at WXXInews.org.